Hello everyone, it's HANA SHIRIN from PALAKKAD. I'm studying in 10th standard in PULIYAPARAMB High Secondary School, KODUNTHIRAPULLY. So, what is the specialty of July 21st? Yes, someone is saying, yes, it's Moon Day. We celebrate July 21st as Moon Day. So, in this Moon Day, we are going to study about stars and constellations. So, let's begin. What is astronomy? Let's see. Astronomy is a branch of science that deals with the study of stars, planets, constellations, everything related to space. Yes, it's full of curiosities and wonderment. I am sure that you have probably wondered by looking at the stars at night. Yes, night sky is a place of wonders. We can see so many things in the night sky. Let's go to space and see how a star is born. Now we have traveled to space and let's look what is happening while a star is born. So, there are so many dust and clouds, cloud of dust and gases in the space. They got merged together and they form a nebula, a collection of dust and gas in the space. Not household dust, but type of space dust, dust of elements, etc. and etc. So the first form of stars, this is the nursery of stars. Stars born in nebula. So in this nebula consists of dust and gas, mostly hydrogen gas, something like heavy gas, and they will starts to contract, and become a protostar. And do you know what happens in a protostars? Yes, the protostar gains mass by the contraction of the nebula, and they merge together. And with the little help of temperature, when the temperature becomes high, and the gravity and temperature and gravity becomes high, something happens at the protostar. What is that? Yes, nuclear fusion. Hydrogen burns into helium. So that process continues for a billions of years, and the next stage of the star is happened. Yes, main sequence star, young star. So the main sequence star depends on the mass. If it is higher mass, it is called high mass star, and if it have only low mass, mainly a star's life stage is depends on its mass, temperature and gravity. So I hope you must have understood the importance of the mass of a star in its life cycle, right? So this is main sequence stars. Our sun, our own sun. Yes, the closest star to our earth is sun. Without sun, we wouldn't have existed, right? So thanks to sun, I am here now. So our sun is in the stage of main sequence now. So some stars have high mass. It happens in the nebula itself. If there is so many gases and dust, it depends on the mass of the stars. And our sun is a low mass star. Our sun, yes, it's really big. It's compared to us, sun is really big. But there are bigger stars, 12,000 more suns to a big star. There are so many big larger stars than the sun. Very hot, high temperature and everything. It's really giant stars. Our sun is a small low mass star. So after some billions of years, our sun will go through this path of life. Okay, and high mass stars like Betelgeuse and Thetis, they will go through these stages. Yes, you know Betelgeuse, the brightest star in the constellation Orion, is now in the stage of red supergiant. Okay, it's very giant compared to Earth, and we can see Betelgeuse mostly during the winter nights, right? So, red giant, our sun will go through this path, and after several billions of years, our sun will travel through this path. Don't worry, before our sun will die, our earth will be fried because of the heat of the sun. Let's study about the life stage of Loma stars. I have already mentioned that our sun is a Loma star, right? So, after billions of years, our sun will become a red giant. It's got its name, red and giant. Red giant star. What happens in a red giant star? We have already learned that hydrogen burns into helium. That nuclear fusion is the way of a star's living. Okay, just like we need food to live, stars need nuclear fusion to live. So after some time, the hydrogen in the red giant starts to running out. So running out of amount, and the hydrogen, there is no more hydrogen in the red giant. So what happens? The inner core of the star, the inner small core becomes big, and the layers will be swelled and become very giant, that is red giant, and its color also become red. I have already mentioned that okay, in the case of stars, what happens? Yes, the blue color stars are more hotter than the red stars. So what should we understand in this? Yes, it is its temperature is losing, so the stars become cooling, and not cool, but compared to other giant stars, red stars are have less temperature than compared to other giant blue stars. So in red giant, the star is cooling, and the hydrogen stops burning because there is no more hydrogen there to burn into helium. So after some years, maybe thousands or 10,000 maybe years after, what happens? The outer layer of the star starts to shed. After shedding and shedding, we can it turns into a planetary nebula. In this name, you must have noticed that planetary nebula have nothing to do with a formation of planet or something like that. It just got its name. It's nothing related to our normal planets which revolve around the sun. It's just that name, planetary nebula. Inside the planetary nebula, we can see the red giant's core. That it is very white, and it emits light, but no more energy. It can't produce no more energy, and it will be the emitting only light. It still have its light. So we call that white dwarf. And do you know something? The remains of the planetary nebula, after the shedding of the outer layers, these layers will be recycled into nebula. Yes, there is a nebula here. It is known as ring nebula. It is of the constellation Lyra, the heart. So there are so many nebulas. We have scientists are discovering so many nebulas. There are examples of so many nebulas. So the planetary nebula will be recycled into the star forming nebula. And then remind, what will be the white dwarf? The white dwarf will be stirred up. It's cooling because it cannot fuse, right? So it has some light, and it is emitting that light, and gradually becomes cooler and becomes a black dwarf. Okay, so you might have understood that our sun will become a white dwarf, maybe a yellow dwarf based on its color maybe, and it gradually becomes a black dwarf. And that is the end of Loma stars. It's really sad, right? Now let's look at the life stage of HANA stars, right? I have already gave an example for HANA star, which is Betelgeuse. This is the Betelgeuse, which is also known as Tiruvadira star in the constellation Orion, aka Vetakaran. So we see Orion mostly during the winter nights, right? With his hunting dogs Canis Major and Canis Minor. We will study more about constellation later. So now let's focus on the HANA stars. Yes, what is happening in the HIMA stars? Yes, the hydrogen is burning into helium. Yes, after some time, just like the red giant, the amount of hydrogen starts to running out of amount. So there is so many alternative elements that burning a super red super giant, because it's very giant. It's more very giant compared to a red giant. Red super giant. It's very super, very red and giant. Yes, and it also turns to cooling, because we have studied that red stars are have less temperature compared to blue stars. And do you something, the main sequence HIMA stars have blue color. Okay, the young main sequence HIMA stars have blue color. Something like you must have seen the Pleiades, also known as Kartika Kutam. That in that star cluster we can see so many blue stars because they are very young. In our Milky Way galaxy, we can see so many blue stars and they are very young and high mass and have high mass. So, yes, a mass of a star determines everything. Its appearance, its how much its mass, how its color, and everything's life. It mostly influences a star's life. The mass is the main thing of a star. So, high mass stars will become red supergiant. It will be the amount of hydrogen starts to running out, and after that hydrogen fuse into helium, and after that there will be so many other nuclear fusions, just like the nuclear fusion of carbon and mostly all the elements in the periodic table, and finally the heaviest element in the universe, iron. After the fusion of iron, there are so many elements and so many stuffs in that star, it cannot hold everything in it, and finally the gravity wins in this battle and it becomes and it will explode, and that explosion, that brightness is more maybe 2 times more than the brightness of our entire galaxy. Just imagine that. It's very bright, a supernova. We can even see when we look at the sky. Maybe some, if you are lucky, we can see a supernova. I think so. So, the explosion of stars are known as a supernovae. Okay, and after supernova, there will be no more core, just like a planetary nebula, because there's no core. It's all bursted out, and yes, and if the remaining have a definite medium mass, it will turn into a neutron star. The neutron star spins very fast. It will and it's very heavy. Even a spoonful of a little spoonful of neutron star is very heavier than the Earth. Yes, it's really smaller also. Maybe it's even smaller than the moon. So if the star have extreme mass, it will become a black hole. And do you know the center of our galaxy? What is the name of our galaxy? In which galaxy are we living? Yes, Milky Way, aka Akashaganga. So the center of the Milky Way is a galaxy known as Sagittarius A. So they are very mysterious, and scientists are still arguing about them, and now and some scientists have founded some black holes, and it's very mysterious. And do you know something? Which is the closest star of our solar system apart from our sun? It's in our constellation. Which is our neighbor star? Yes, it is Proxima Centauri. It is on the constellation Centaurus. Okay, right here it consists of binary stars, 3 stars orbiting each other, Proxima Centauri system. That is the closest star and our neighbor star. And do you know what is our neighbor galaxy? Which is our neighbor galaxy? Yes, Andromeda galaxy. It is on the constellation Andromeda. It is a princess of Ethiopia, Andromeda. So we have a constellation Andromeda. that galaxy is in that constellation, so it is known as Andromeda galaxy. Yes, our neighbor galaxy. We are in Milky Way, and our neighbor galaxy is Andromeda. So we have learned about the life cycle of stars. Now let's look at constellations. What are constellations? Yes, we see thousands of stars in night sky, right? Just look up. That is the first step into astronomy. Just look up and observe the. First, you can't understand anything. You just see so many stars. Then, gradually, you can see some patterns here and there. Yes, they are called constellations. They are made by, they are just imagination. There are not such lines or something like that. Just that they are made by our ancestors, right? With the use of their imagination. Yes, I have already told you that astronomy is full of imaginations and curiosities. So you must be curious to know more about constellations, right? Then let's go there. Yes, if we look at the night sky, just like I said, gradually you can see so many regions, some patterns, etc. So there are 88 officially recognized constellations. Constellations we see may vary by the seasons and due to the revolution of Earth. So we see Orion and his hunting dogs during the winter season, right? Which are the hunting dogs? Canis Major and Canis Minor. And Taurus the Bull, Pleiades, Gemini, Cancer. Then which are the others? Yes, Auriga. We can see so many winter constellations in the sky, right? If we go south, we can see the constellation Carina, and there is a star named Canopus. Okay, do you know which is the brightest star in the night sky? Yes, someone is saying, yes, it is Sirius. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky. The second brightest star is known as Canopus. Okay, and we can see Puppis, and we can see an old constellation named Argonavis. Now it is split into three: Vela, Carina, and Puppis. We can see Argonavis in the south part, and we can see in the west Cassiopeia, Cepheus, Cygnus, etc. and etc. So the Orion will rise at the night of the winter, and after 6 months in summer, before summer, we can see Orion setting in the west at the same time. That is exactly what I am saying. Yes, constellations changes on the course of seasons. Now you have understood that we can see different constellations at the different seasons. Next one, zodiacal constellations, aka the zodiacal constellations. So we all know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, just like stars, right? Yes, sun is a star, don't forget that. So but sun is our nearest star, and our earth is revolving around the sun. So due to that reason, we can see that the sun rises in the east and travels through a specific region and sets in the west, right? So the path of the sun in the sky, there is a specific path, a band of sky, which is known as the eclipse. Okay, so this constellations on that eclipse is known as the zodiacal constellations. Okay, the sun travels through the zodiacal constellations every month or every 15 days. So there are 12 zodiacal constellations, and we have found a 13th constellation known as Ophiuchus. The 12 zodiac constellations are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpius, Sagittarius, Capricornus, Aquarius, and Pisces. Now, something here. Yes, now so astronomers have found a 13th zodiacal constellation, which is known as Ophiuchus. It is due to the precession of Earth. Now there is a 13th zodiac constellation. So these are the main theme of astrology. Do you know astronomy is different from astrology? There is so many similarities. Astronomy is a branch of science that deals with the study of stars, planets, solar system, universe, etc. But the astrology has nothing to do with science. It's full of beliefs, customs, and traditions with the help of zodiacal constellations. Okay, there are so many difference between astrology and astronomy, and also as well as an astronomer and an astrologer. Don't forget that the third type of constellations, my favorite, circumpolar constellations. Our Earth is tilted by 23.5 degree. Due to that tilt, we have seasons, right? But because our Earth is tilted on the direction of a star known as Polaris, it doesn't rise or sets. We saw the seasonal constellation and the zodiacal constellations. They always rise and sets, but that one star known as Polaris don't rise or set. It will be nailed at the north. We can determine the correct north. During the earlier times, the navigators used Polaris to determine north. If we get north, we can get all the other directions. So Polaris is an important star because it doesn't move. It stills on the north side, and it is our pole star. So let's look more about Polaris. Polaris is in the constellation Ursa Minor. So if we go to northern hemisphere, we can see that the Polaris is overhead and the nearby stars are circling the Polaris. Okay, those stars or those constellations are known as the circumpolar constellation. Circling the pole star is Polaris, circumpolar constellations. So there are 5 main circumpolar constellations, which are Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Camelopardalis, and Cassiopeia, Cepheus, and so many other stars with them. So circumpolar constellations are mainly of north side, right? If you see that pole star, if you see Polaris during the dusk, and after some time, if we look at the midnight, the star will be on the same position, and if we look before the sunrise, the star will be there. So Polaris doesn't move, and the stars surround it moves towards the pole. It is the reflection of the rotation of the Earth's axis that makes circumpolar constellations. So these are the 3 different types of constellations. Which are they? Tell me. Yes, seasonal constellations, zodiacal constellations, and circumpolar constellations. So let's revise what we have learned today. So we learned about the life cycle of stars, how a star is born and how they will die, and to the 2 types of stars, which are high mass stars and low mass stars, and etc. Right? And how our sun will die and how our sun is born. Okay, and the second we learned is constellations. There are 88 officially recognized constellations, and these constellations are mainly divided into 3, like seasonal constellations, zodiacal constellation, and circumpolar constellations. We have 5 circumpolar main constellations and 12 main zodiacal constellations, plus we have one more now, so 13. Ophiuchus is the 13th zodiacal constellation. It is due to the precession of Earth. And we have learned about the seasonal constellations, winter constellations, and summer constellations, spring constellations, etc. We have learned about Orion, Taurus, Canis Major, and Canis Minor, right? And summer constellations such as Lyra, Cygnus, Aquila, Scorpius, Capricornus, Centaurus, etc. And the 5 circumpolar constellations, which is our pole star? Polaris. Yes, Polaris is the a star of the constellation Ursa Minor. It is also the Alpha Ursa Minoris. Alpha means the first brightest star of the Ursa Minor. So Polaris, our pole star, is here, and we have an illusion of other stars in that part of the sky circling around the Polaris. We can see, we now in India can see pole star like this. So we can have an illusion of these stars and constellations revolving around our pole star. And this is how we got the name circumpolar. circling the Polaris circumpolar constellation. Hope this is clear. I'm going to give you some tips to stargaze. The first one is just look up at the sky. Look up and wonder. Observe the changes every single night. If there is no cloud, just step out from the house or go to your rooftop and look up at the stars and observe the changes. Tip number 2, use an app for stargazing such as Sky Safari, Starwalk, or Sky Tonight. Tip number 3, use red lights. Use red lights instead of white lights because white lights are very bright, so we can't adapt our eyes to the night sky. So use red lights instead. Tip 4, make yourself an observational record and record your stargazings in them and stay updated. Hope you have learned something new today. Stay curious and never stop looking up at the sky. Thank you.